Okay, sit yourself onto the lift and then come into your cross leg position. Just find some levelness at your seat bones. Just have a little wriggle about, just make sure that you're feeling like you're sitting evenly. So spend a moment just observing the levelness of your seat bones, and then hold on to your knees, lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area up to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just spend a few moments looking down at the floor, looking at something that doesn't move, and then just focus on drawing air in through the nostrils, filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. Observe that when we're having, unfortunately, slightly rare warm days in the UK this year, when the temperature is a little warmer, maybe the ability to fill the lungs feels a little more easy. Maybe your body feels a little more relaxed. It's almost as though we've emerged out of our igloo and facing the sun. Maybe igloo is a slight exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Actually, igloo was a bad analogy, because I think igloos are very warm, aren't they? But anyway, you know what I mean. Lift up into the chest. Just focus on filling the lungs evenly and emptying the lungs evenly. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying them from the top to the bottom. Release your knees, bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Just keeping the jaw and the tongue and the throat soft. Inhaling and filling the lungs. Filling them to their maximum if you can. Just observing the balance of your seat bones, the balance of the feet. And then gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Just amassing a feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. Bringing the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb, lengthening the other fingers away from the palms. And then when you're ready, raise your head and allow your eyes to softly open. So hold onto your knees. Elevate the heart area upwards, drawing your shoulders down. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose. And then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen across your ribs and your shoulders. And then come back to the center, hold on to your knees, lift up into your chest, elevating the heart area upwards. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left, drawing your abdomen and your ribs and your shoulders across. And then come back to the center. Just sit back on your heels for Adho Mukha Virasana. So big toes together and your knees apart. So Kat, you said you'd been on a long walk today and your legs were a little bit tired. Virasana is always a really good position to sit in after a long walk because it refreshes the action of your legs. So just stay in Virasana for a moment. Just observe how your shins connect to the ground. And then consciously push the shin bone into the shin skin so that you really press the shins as firmly into the floor as you can. Activating the thighs and then driving the heart area up towards the ceiling. Gather your shoulder blades together. Just bring your hands onto your hips and then hinge at the hips. Come forwards. Driving the chin and the chest forwards. So at the stage at which you start to lose contact between the seat bones and the heels, then bring your hands forwards, but maintain that lift of the front chest. So keep the front chest long as you creep your hands forwards, pressing the palms into the floor, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms, hitting the seat bones down onto the heels, and then bring the forehead down onto the floor. If you can't reach the floor with your forehead, then put a block underneath your head. If you lose contact between the seat bones and the heels when you bring your head down, then put a block under your head. If you lose contact with your seat bones altogether, then put a block underneath the seat bones or a folded blanket. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, just observing how the warmer weather maybe gives you greater expandability of the chest. Now the warmth makes the body respond in different ways. So in this country we like a bit of warm weather, but we don't like it too warm. Although it's suppose that depends on the individual, of course, but just a little bit of warmth around 20 degrees is really comfortable for most of us. It just gives us that opportunity to just spread out, breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Just listening to the breath. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. Lifting the seat bones, elevating the heart area, just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Straightening the legs when you're ready by drawing the kneecaps into the sockets, hit the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Maximizing the spread of the palms. Breathing in the bottom of the lungs to the top. Breathing into both lungs evenly. Finding that even action between the left leg and the right, between the arms and the legs, between the arms and the chest and the legs. Just initiating the body into our practice this morning. And then step your feet forwards. Just come up into a standing position, and then just have some blocks for your hands, and then bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. So stamp the big toe into the floor and stretch the little toes out to the side. Have your hands on your hips, and then lift the chest upwards. Of course, you can raise your arms up, but I've got a bit of a bad back at the moment, and coming forwards with the arms lifted is a bit of an extra strain on your back, on the back. So if you come into the pose with your hands on your hips, lifting up into the chest, winging the elbows back, and then hinging at the hips, there's less weight on the back, there's less strain on the back. Just work to turn the fronts of the thighs inwards. Lift the seat bones, project the chin and the chest forwards before you bring your hands down. So lengthening and activating before you reach down and find the blocks. So allow the fingers to lightly press onto the blocks and to lift the seat bones, project the chin and the chest forwards. Just listen to the breath. Long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting the fronts of the thighs, lifting the seat bones, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. If you can go down lower, then do, but if you've got bad back, just be cautious. Just probably stay on the higher lift. If you feel that your back is going to be aggravated by coming down lower, if you can go all the way to the floor, then do. I'm just erring on the side of caution, although my back's feeling quite a lot better actually. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Feeling that you can really elevate the backs of the thighs from the back of the knee all the way up to the ceiling. Lift the backs of the thighs all the way to the ceiling. The skin of the back of the thigh creeping up as though it's defying gravity. Just take deep inhalations and exhalations. Okay, and then just Bring your hands onto your hips, bend your knees on the way up if you need to, and then come up into siddhasana. Just have the inner edge of your feet together, big toes touching and your heels touching. And then lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area up to the ceiling. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Just observe how maybe you've already woken up the limbs. Maybe they feel a little lighter, like there's blood flow pumping through them. Bring your arms out nice and wide into the chest, and then step or jump your feet apart for trikonasana. It's the triangle pose, so nice and wide with the legs. So try and have your hands and your feet as wide apart as each other. Lift up into the chest. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out, and then again bring the chest to face the front. Turn the legs from the big toe side to the little toe side, especially at the thigh. Turn the thighs outwards, and then reach over and down and find the shin, and turn the abdomen to the ceiling. Lift up into the chest, breathe in and out through the nose. And on an out breath, come up to the centre. Just swap your feet around, turn your right toes in, your left leg and foot all the way out, just being mindful of the foot position. Heel of the front foot in line with the instep of the back foot or the toes. Turning the front of the thigh outwards. And then come over to the left. Look up and breathe in and out through the nostrils. Just keeping the jaw and the tongue and the throat soft. Just everyone look down, see if you can have a look at that front foot. And is your head directly over it? Can you lift the chest? Can you squeeze the front leg buttock bone forward slightly? So squeeze that front leg buttock bone forward. And then look up. And then come back to the centre. Bring your feet parallel. And then step or jump the feet back together. Just coming back up into Tadasana. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Stretch your arms out in front. Draw your consciousness into each individual finger. And then turn the palms all the way out. And then stretch behind you for namaskarasana. So bringing the fingers behind the back and then assisting the hand to move up to the top of the neck if you can. And then wing the elbows back, Bring the elbows in towards each other. Try and get the palms to touch. So going from here, lengthening the shoulders into the elbows, winging the elbows back, and then drawing the elbows in so that the palms come flat behind the back. And then lift up into the chest. Now, does this make you do this? So does it make you become a banana? So hit your legs back. Tuck the tailbone in, lift up into the chest. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Drawing the lower ribs towards the spine. And then just gently release, maybe drop the chest a little to release the hands, and then spread the fingers, spread the palms. Turn the arms all the way out, turn the palms all the way out to face the sides of the room. Just lifting up into the chest. Keeping the legs activated, keeping the kneecaps tightened, keeping the shins hitting back. Keeping the thighs hitting back, tucking the tailbone in, drawing the abdomen and the lower ribs towards the spine. And then stretch your arms forwards again, and then wing your arms behind your back. Again, just walking your hands up into Namaste. Maybe the second time you come into the pose, you can get the hands a little higher up. So just lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows, wing the elbows to the wall behind you, and then bring the palms of the hands together by squeezing the elbows in towards each other. Try and get the index finger knuckle to press together. And maintain your Tadasana. Just listen to the breath. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And then release chest, release your arms, and then stretch the palms down to the floor. Stretch the fingers down to the floor, really spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Just feel how you can really spread the fingers after namaskarasana. So just observe that feeling of openness in the palms of the hands. And then raise your arms up. Virasana. I need to come sideways so I can just bring my arms up. Keep your arms spread, keep palms spread. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Reach up to the little finger side, really spread the thumbs away from the little fingers. And then gently release your arms. Come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart. Really spreading the fingers, spreading the palms. Turn your toes under, step back a little bit. And then come up into dog down. Just observe how your Adho Mukha Svanasana feels different to how it did at the beginning. Maybe the pose feels a little lighter on the inside. Maybe areas of resistance don't feel so resistant. And then just come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels for a moment. And then just observe the lightness of the chest of the arms. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. So we're going to go into supta virasana. So have a bolster or some cushions. Remember, if supta virasana, if you struggle to go back in supta virasana, you can always heighten your bolster. So you can put if you've got two bolsters, you can put one bolster on top of the other, like that. So you've got a really good height. Or if you don't have two bolsters, but you've got some blocks in a bolster, get some blocks, just lay it out like that, and then put the blocks on top. You might not need to do that. You might just need to use the bolster on its own. But this, if you go higher, it means that you're kind of likely to be able to kind of maintain the pose for a little bit longer. Have a bolster, have a blanket, folded blanket for your head. So because of my back, I mean, this is actually really good for a stiff back, but I'm just going to have a little bit of extra height today. So I'm going to stay with the blocks underneath the bolster. So come onto your knees, so your feet are just kind of touching the end of the bolster. And then get your thumbs right into the backs of your knees, and then draw the calf flesh back and out to the side. If you've got problematic knees, then you can put a belt into the back of your difficult knee, like this, and then you just pull it away as you sit down, and then as you come back, then you can release the belt, but it will give you a bit of space, a bit of extra space behind the knee. So just coming back, just moving that calf flesh out of the way to make sure you're not kind of jammed into the end of the bolster at this stage. And you might not necessarily be sitting directly on the floor or comfortably on the floor, but maybe you're kind of just hovering. It's better to have nothing under your back, underneath your seat bones at this stage. And then press your hands into the floor behind you, and then lift up into the chest. Elevate the heart area upwards, and then lengthen your back along the bolster, bringing yourself onto the bolster. So at this stage, this is where you discover if your bolster is in the right place. So you might need to adjust a couple of times. Does it feel like you're in a straight line with the bolster? So once you've found your comfort, then just relax into the bolster for a second or two. If there's discomfort in your lower back, then consciously turn the tailbone away from the spine, and lengthening the tailbone and the sacrum away from the spine, and turning the tailbone up to face the ceiling. Lengthening the buttock flesh down towards the backs of the knees. Draw the abdomen fully towards the spine. Just have your hands resting on the floor, just either side of the elevated bolster. And then just spend a little time just listening to the breath. Try and keep your knees together. They'll want to kind of just slip apart. So see if you can keep them together. So just spend a little time initially just filling your lungs from the bottom to the top, and emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Feeling your lungs from the bottom to the top, and emptying them from the top to the bottom. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Raise your arms up to the ceiling, spreading the fingers, spreading the palms, interlock the fingers right into the webbing of the hands, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the bolster, just stretching your arms beyond your head. And just go back to filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, breathing into both lungs evenly. Exhaling from both lungs evenly. And then raise your arms, just swap the interlock of your fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then lengthen your arms along the floor, along the bolster, towards the floor. And then release your arms, just rest your arms at the sides of the body. Just consciously filling the lungs evenly, emptying the lungs evenly. And then push your elbows into the floor, or push your hands into the floor if your elbows don't reach. Lift the chest first, try not to poke your head forwards as you come up. Just keep walking yourself up onto your knees, and then just step yourself back. Just gently turn your toes under, and then push your hands into the floor, and then come up into dog down. If you're not doing dog down, then you can do
dandasana, just stretching your legs away. But gently beginning to straighten the legs and bring the heels down just to refresh the action of the calf muscles, just to really stretch out the calves. So we normally resist bringing the heels down in dog down, unless the fronts of the legs can continue to lift, but after supta baddha konasana, it feels good to just stretch out the legs. When the legs have recovered, then just sit yourself back down, just come into cross legs for a moment.
And just hold onto your knees. Just lift up into your chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. So it's a good way to just stretch out your back. So just sit in cross legs and just hold onto your knees, lift up into your chest. Just take some deep inhalations and deep exhalations, just feeling that you can fill the lungs from the bottom to the top, and then empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. So there's this upward action of the in-breath, downward action of the out-breath. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Lift the chest up to meet the chin. Make contact. If you struggle to bring your chin directly onto your chest, put a yoke, like a eye pillow or a rolled up blanket or a pair of socks between the chin and the chest. So Jalandhara Bandha. Incorporate Mula Bandha by raising the anal sphincter up towards the navel region, up towards the diaphragm. And then just focus on filling the lungs from the bottom to the top. And allowing the energy of that breath to overflow into the arms, into the chest and into the legs. Maintaining Mula Bandha and Jalandhara Bandha. And then just release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha, and then just raise the chest upwards. So we're going to sit on a lift and we're going to do a little bit of Viloma pranayama, just a brief moment or two of Viloma. So it's better to sit, when you do it seated, when you do pranayama seated, it's better to sit on a lift because it just gives you better access into the upper chest. And then bring the legs apart and then bring the right foot in and then bring the top of the foot onto the floor, keeping your heel in line with the belly button. And then bring the other leg in, and then you can either bring both feet down onto the floor, so the top of the foot onto the floor with the heels in line with each other. So the heels are in line with the belly button. Or you can post those toes through the thigh and the calf, and then reach through, get hold of the big toe of the other foot, and then pull that through, if you can, pull it through the calf and the thigh, just so that it stays in position. So siddhasana, lift up onto the chest, elevate your heart area upwards, and maybe you roll off the lift a little, but it gives you some extension. So you can do a little bit of Viloma pranayama. So rather than filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, I want you to feel that the in-breath originates at the perineum, at the aponic region, and you fill the lungs all the way up to the top. And then when you exhale all the way down towards the perineum. So the in-breath from the perineum to the collarbone, and then collarbone down to the perineum. Just see if you can activate that aponic breath. So maybe your in-breath and out-breath will be a little longer than usual. So just activating that aponic breath from the perineum to the collarbone with the in-breath, and from the collarbone down to the perineum with the out-breath. And the first stage of Viloma pranayama is where we interrupt the in-breath like you're walking up a ladder. So you breathe in just a little and then you stop, and then you breathe in a little and you stop, and then breathe in a little until you stop. As though you're walking up the ladder until the lungs completely feel full, and then just a normal exhalation from the top to the bottom. So the in-breath kind of feels like a lift that stops at each floor. And that gentle holding of the breath should feel light. It should feel just like a suspension from the diaphragm, never a grip. There should never be a grip around the diaphragm. It's just a suspension from the diaphragm. There should be no tension around the chest or around the throat or around the head. Just a gentle suspension of the breath from the diaphragm. So when you're ready, take a normal inhalation and a normal exhalation. Or an aponic exhalation, and then just interrupt the in-breath, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 interruptions, and then a normal out-breath. So the breath suspension is a second or 2, no longer. So if there's any reason why you shouldn't hold your breath, then just normal breathing. Just one more cycle. And then just end on an out breath. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. So just normal inhalations and normal exhalations, just allow yourself to recover. And then just gently release your legs, just stretch your legs out. Just coming into svanasana with the legs pushing the heels away, pulling the toes towards you, lifting up into the chest, just really flexing the heels to return energy back to the legs. And then just come back into cross legs, just a normal cross legs. Hold onto your knees and then turn to the right side. And then back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift. And then come down onto your back. Just hold onto the mat, raising the legs up for a moment. If you're on a period, just stay with the legs in the air very briefly. We're not going to stay very long anyway. We're nearly out of time. Just allowing just this gentle inversion just to ground the body. And then release the legs, and then just get the blanket, the folded blanket underneath your head. Make sure you're in a really good straight line, right down the center of the mat. If you're wearing glasses, it's nice to take them off just for these last couple of minutes. And then just allow yourself to release into the floor. So take deep inhalations and exhalations, observing how perhaps your breath feels different. just gently wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice, that light energy that fills the body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. And then draw your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then very gently just roll over onto your right side and stay down for a breath or two. Just be conscious of the energy that you have released. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final cross legs with your hands in the masti, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the inversions and the back bends bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. And then gently release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then when you're ready, just gently raise your head and allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel like you've really lifted your energy, your body feels kind of warm like the environment around you, and you're ready to take on. So thank you very much for joining me.